well, let's move on to adult content, another in-world issue. So you recently announced a policy of essentially sequestering adult content. And I'm wondering, can you talk about how that fits in, again, to the overall Linden Lab strategy?
Sure. Well, we have 650,000 active users, and they're all looking for different kinds of experiences in Second Life. And we're not prohibiting adult content in Second Life by any stretch of the imagination. What we're doing instead is we're trying to create a more predictable experience by improving and changing our search tools and the way that content is surfaced, so that if there are people who don't want to access that content, they're not required to access it because it's fully visible to them. At the same time, if there are people who want to access that content, we're making it certainly possible for them to do so as well. The thing about Second Life that's really, really important, because it's been something I've spent a fair amount of time learning about this past year, and that is that it's an incredibly diverse user base. That 650,000 active user count has very different needs and very different desires, and it's evolving over time. All we're trying to do is make the platform, accessible to people who want to access it in a certain way, and we're simply calibrating our tools and experience paths to fit that.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Deuce and Writer asked a question at the recent PR conference on adult content, and the gist of his question was really that you can view Second Life as a world with a real geography, or you can view it as a any other type of web application and use terms like use cases and filtering and so on. And so just to paraphrase his question, do you when you make policies like this, do you view Second Life as a world and try to think like an urban planner, or do you view it as a web application and think like a programmer?
That's a really wonderful way to frame the issue in the form of a question. That's a wonderful way of thinking about it, and I'm going to use that when I talk about adult content in the future, because I think it's a combination of both. I mean, we have some really powerful real-world metaphors in Second Life. Land is one. We have a sense of geography and presence here. The map is getting better as a tool to navigate Second Life, and you haven't even seen what we have up our sleeve for maps. So geography is important. So I would say that it's very much about kind of the set of concerns that an urban planner might have, but with tools that are web-based. It's a combination of both. There's no doubt, though, that we are participating more than we have in the past in the experience, which is why we have a Department of Public Works that's been working on making improvements to the mainland. We take those things seriously.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're almost out of time. The last couple questions I'd like to ask are really to ask essentially for elevator pitches, because I'm just wondering, if you look ahead to where you'll be in a year or so when you've made these changes, and let's just assume they all work out. What's the elevator pitch? I mean, let's start for the residents. What is it you're going to say to get the residents to come in, as opposed to doing other things that they could do with their time, whether it's watching TV or going outside? What's the pitch?
Well, Second Life is really like no other experience. It's rich, it's immersive, it's very social, it's highly creative. There's an enormous element of surprise because the content is user generated. So I think the elevator pitch is really, really simple. This is a phenomenal world, and it's only limited by your imagination. The promise behind the scenes that we'll be delivering on, it's not part of the elevator pitch. It's going to be a heck of a lot easier, and it's going to be enabled by tools like social tools that people are accustomed to in other web properties.
And how about the pitch that you would give to enterprise adopters who are looking to use something like an immersive workspaces or some other Second Life product for serious behind the firewall collaboration?
Sure. Well, one thing I do is I point them, and this isn't said as a pitch, but I'd point them to the case studies that we're starting to develop and put up on secondlife.com that very much speak to all of the use cases for enterprise. I'm surprised and excited by enterprise interest in the Second Life platform as a place for collaboration and learning, because there are a lot of budget cutbacks that companies are making in the enterprise software space and in technology spending, and we had no problem filling up our alpha release of our behind the firewall solution, and the interest is staggering for both the Second Life grid, which is where we are today, and for a behind the firewall solution.